to the Dixie Belle YouTube channel. My name is Amy and I'm from the channel Flip It Furniture. Today we're going to be making over this dresser mirror combo that I got from one of my neighbors for free. I'm going to be using one of the new transfers by Dixie Belle. I absolutely fell in love with this transfer from the moment I saw it. So for a list of all the products I use in this video and where to buy them, be sure to check out the description box below. Now let's flip it. Since I'm already outside with the piece, I've decided to sand the previous finish right off the top. Now that everything is sanded off, I'm taking my applicator pad and Dixie Belle's No Pain Gel Stain in Picklin White, and I'm going to add one coat over the top. This is a gel stain, so you want to be sure that you're wearing some gloves when you're using it. Once I have an even coat on the top, I just go back and I start smoothing it out. I want to make sure that there's no excess left on the piece. I waited about 3 days for my No Pain Gel Stain to dry fully, and then I brought my piece back in the house for a good cleaning. I'm using Dixie Belle's White Lightning Cleaner. When I finish thoroughly cleaning my piece, I always rinse it down with some water just to make sure I don't leave any cleaner residue on the piece. To remove the drawers, there's this little switch on the sides that I have to press down, and then the drawers will come out. That way I can thoroughly clean the cubbies and the drawers. Now, because I've already stained my top, I'm going to use some blue tape just to cover it and protect it because I'm going to paint the base of this and I don't want to get any paint on the top. Now I've decided to use some Dixie Belle mud and fill in any cracks that are on this piece. Sometimes there's cracks in the knots and that happens naturally. And as you can see here, we have a lot of yellowing. Those are tannins coming out of those knots. So this tells me that I definitely need to use a primer. Whoever painted this before me just did a whitewash or maybe stained it in white and did a poly over it. But unfortunately, you can see all those yellow tannins. So to combat this, we're going to use Dixie Belle's Boss. It's a blocking primer. It blocks odors and tannins, but there's no odor on this piece. There are definitely tannins, and I'm going to be painting over it, so I want to make sure that no yellowing seeps through. This is when the primer is most important. Usually you only need 2 coats, but because those knots are so bad with the tannins, I'm going to just add 3. Now for the paint color, I've decided to use Dixie Belle's Dried Sage. I love this color. I've never used it and I was so pleasantly surprised. It's a really great neutral with a lot of personality. It's almost like a beige gray green. So I'm using my water mister and my brush and I'm putting on 2 even coats. I use my water mister pretty often just to minimize the brush strokes, and it really helps me to lay the paint on nice and smooth. And it helps a little bit of paint go a really long way. And just this little 8 ounce of paint, I'm only going to use about half of it. And that's the same case with 3 coats of my Boss. I only used half of the little can. So a little goes a long way. Now I'm using the Buds and Branches transfer, which is inspired by the Top Drawer RVA. That's Melissa. She's one of the brand ambassadors for Dixie Belle. This transfer is so beautiful. There's 4 sheets, and if you can put these 2 together, you have a centerpiece. So you can cut them out, use them whichever way you want. It's just gorgeous. This might be my favorite transfer. I've cut part of the transfer out, and now I'm just deciding on exactly how I want to place this. Now to make it fit, I know that I need to cut a little piece of that leaf off, and then it'll fit perfectly. So at this point, I like the way everything looks, and I'm going to take it off of the backing paper. These are like a sticker. So I stick it onto my piece, and then I take the little tool that they provide and I'm just going to rub it on my furniture. As my transfer is rubbing off onto the furniture, this little piece is going to get in the way, so I just remove it with my scissors. Then I continue rubbing the rest of the transfer on my piece while I'm peeling back this top paper. Then I just continue adding my transfer pieces here and there to where I think it will look flowy and balanced and beautiful. And when I finish adding my transfers everywhere I want, I go in with a nice light sanding sponge and I give it a really light sanding. I'm barely rubbing. I'm not pressing or using any pressure. I'm just going over it super slightly, and that is to remove the halo that is around it and to pop any air bubbles. We want to make sure that it's really, really smooth before we seal the piece. Now to seal the piece, I'm going to use Dixie Belle's Clear Coat in Satin. I'm just focusing on full coverage and a nice smooth surface. I don't want there to be brush strokes or globs when I'm using my sealer because those globs, they'll kind of dry that way and you'll be able to see it. The sealer goes on white, but it dries in a clear finish. If you leave drips or globs though, they will dry that way. So you want to make sure that you're smoothing it out as you go along. Here's a reminder of the before, and here's what it looks like today. I've changed out the hardware. They're these little cream colored flowers with a little bit of gold on the edges. I think the hardware pairs so nicely with the picklin white top. I love the mixture of the earth tones with the vibrant purple flowers. This piece in person, I wish you could see it in person. It's one of those wow pieces. I'm just so happy with the way it turned out. I hope you enjoyed this makeover, and I will see you next time.